Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
These guys have very personal feelings invested here, and it's not for me or anyone else to question their feelings. You know what I mean? Their feelings are their own.
It was 7 years ago in March 1982 that John Belushi died of a drug overdose in a Los Angeles bungalow. His death created headlines in the tabloids and attracted attention, including that of Bob Woodward. Woodward's book, Wired, created controversy when it was published. The movie is creating even more.
Wired is the story of the drug-drenched short life and fast times of John Belushi. It's based on Bob Woodward's scathing book about a man out of control and the people around him who either couldn't or wouldn't help. Belushi's friends, many of whom were painted unsympathetically in the book, detested it, and they hate the idea of a film even more.
It starts out in the morgue with John on the slab getting up and going around town with a Puerto Rican taxi driver reliving his last night. I hope it never gets seen, and I'm going to hurl all the negative energy I can and muster all my hell energy to hurl against them. So my thunderbolts are out on this one.
But Belushi's friends are doing more than hurling verbal thunderbolts. Early on, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, and others close to Belushi reportedly threatened the movie's producer with lawsuits if their names were used in the picture. John's brother, James Belushi, allegedly stormed into the producer's office and trashed his desk in anger. And on the set of another Aykroyd film, an actor was apparently canned because he had had a part in Wired. As you might expect, all this is pretty heady stuff for newcomer Michael Chiklis, the actor given the job of bringing Belushi back.
These guys have very personal feelings invested here, and it's not for me or anyone else to question their feelings. You know what I mean? Their feelings are their own, and they have every right to them. And I'm not apologizing for what I did at all, don't get me wrong. I believe in what we did, and I loved playing John.
But Chiklis may be underestimating the forces against Wired. LA Times reporter Nina Easton believes Hollywood's top talent agent may have attempted what amounts to movie murder.
The most powerful talent agent and agency in town, that's Mike Ovitz and Creative Artists Agency, and his clients, including Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd and other Belushi friends, didn't want the film made. And so you could argue that they tried to kill it.
Michael Ovitz of CAA represented Belushi and still represents his brother James, as well as Aykroyd and Murray. According to Easton, Ovitz was so distraught by the film, he put pressure on some companies not to distribute it. And when one company, New Visions, decided to pick up Wired anyway, Ovitz allegedly killed the deal by threatening to keep big-name stars out of other New Visions pictures.
If they don't want a project made, they can threaten to withhold their talent on future projects or on that project. I mean, they have a lot of influence, especially in a town that is so wedded to brand names, that is very, very fixated on having big names that will open the picture the first weekend.
Michael Ovitz declined our request to appear, but flatly denies the LA Times report, as do officials of New Visions. The producers of Wired told us they'd rather not contribute to the controversy this close to the picture's release. Wired will open old wounds, and a particularly painful memory for Aykroyd and others involves Kathy Smith, the woman accused of giving Belushi his final and fatal overdose here at the Chateau Marmont Hotel.
I think that John would have ended up a statistic. I mean, I hate to say that, but I know how hard I worked to get over it, and I know the only thing that worked for me was putting myself in a program. And I don't think John was prepared to do that.
But Patty Darbanville, who plays Kathy Smith in the movie, says the anti-drug message must be heard. She should know. She's a former heroin addict who knew Kathy Smith and admitted taking drugs with her.
I don't think it's exploiting or exploitative. I don't believe it is.
According to Nina Easton, Belushi's friends believed the book pointed an accusing finger at them for not preventing John's overdose, and they're afraid the movie will take the same accusing tone. Ironically, their fears may be unfounded.
I've seen the film, and while it shows John Belushi doing a lot of drugs, it doesn't show other people in Hollywood at all doing drugs. The people that pass drugs to John Belushi in the film are his fans and Kathy Smith, the woman who was with him the night that died. But Hollywood comes off quite well in the film itself.
So a Hollywood ending, really?
Yeah, a very Hollywood ending, and a Hollywood version of Hollywood.
Whether the flap over Wired affects the film at the box office remains to be seen, but even those who hate Wired must know the movie will rise or fall on its own merit. Thunderbolts won't stop a good movie, and free ink won't save a bad one.
It touches people somewhere, you know. I mean, he was loved, you know, and his family's involved, and I completely understand them too, you know. And it's hard to watch. He died a bad death, you know, and he was a genius, you know, full of life, vivacious. You know, he just burnt out real quick.
Initially, the producers were unable to get enough money to produce Wired in Hollywood. They ended up getting their financing from the Orient and from a New Zealand brewery. Wired opens in the United States on August 18th. However, it premiered last week at the Cannes Film Festival, and people booed when it was over.